It's me, Mario.
All right, let's get ready to talk about Epic Universe for an hour.
We hope an hour.
Yeah. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Shark podcast, and we have a biggie. That is both literal and figuratively here. We have a big episode for you guys. We're going to be cutting it up even. This is, as Alicia was telling me, basically the halfway check-in for Epic Universe, and that, of course, is basically my favorite thing happening on planet Earth right now. Epic Universe is Universal Orlando's new upcoming theme park that is currently being built, and I don't know if I think I've told you this, Alicia. This is basically, in my lifetime, the first brand new theme park that I can kind of like cognitively remember and actually be a part of, because all the other ones that have happened to this point, I was just too young.
Yeah. I mean, I was mildly obsessed with Islands of Adventure when that was happening, because I went to the preview center and got the passport stamped at all the different little areas.
Yeah.
So but I wasn't, terminally online or digging through permits back then. Online was a little different back in the late 90s. So yeah, this is intense, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, I'll be upfront. I have a giant printout on giant paper of the plans for Epic Universe from permits, and I write in little notes, like a giant conspiracy theory board right in front of me. So when I talk about permit numbers and project numbers and things, just know that I'm glancing over at the entire theme park, hand-drawn and printed out right on my wall.
I love that. And Alicia's been making a full series on everything happening on Epic Universe over on her channel as well. I know she'll speak to that in this episode, but truly, guys, there is nobody better that we could have on this podcast than Alicia Stella to talk about Epic Universe with. So as always, just thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking this. I've told you this, and I want to even say it again before we even go in like a long episode like this. Before I started as a theme park YouTuber, having a theme park podcast, any of that stuff, I was listening to you. Like, you were my person who I was consuming content from. So the fact that we're doing a podcast now is a lot of fun, and I can't wait to give everyone this full look at where we are today. Everything kind of, just every detail that we know at this point. If you haven't listened to one Epic Universe video so far, and I have seen some comments where you guys say, hey, go over a little more details if we haven't been, keeping up to this point. This is your video for everything Epic Universe and what you need to know as of right now today.
Yeah, this is, it's always fun to talk about Epic Universe, so I'm just excited to really get into it. The series on Theme Park Stop is like a narrative series, like a documentary, where I'm really just trying to give the feel of what it's going to be like to walk into this park, because it's just here's my interpretation, but it's also a midpoint check-in on construction. But I feel like today we're just going to bullet list, go through the facts, just the facts. This is what we think we know right now for every single area. And yeah, like you said, anyone who's just joining us, this is a new theme park being built about 2 miles south of the current Universal Orlando Resort. It's very close to the the Orange County Convention Center. We think it's going to have 4 different themed lands, a giant hub like the Magic Kingdom, but bigger, a hotel at the back of the park, and it's named Universal's Epic Universe.
Appropriately named for a park of, this magnitude and coming at this point in time. Still on track for that opening summer of 2025 at this point.
Yeah, just last month, December 5th, Jeff Shell, the NBC Universal CEO, confirmed that it is on track for a summer 2025 opening. He specifically said it will be open in time for the summer of 25. Which, every time they speak about it, I try to, carefully analyze the wording that they're using, because they've never actually said it will open in the summer of 25. It's going to be ready by the summer of 25. So very curious if it gets open sooner, or if we're going to see some kind of previews, and that's why they specifically say by summer 2025.
When you hear something like that, and I know this is total speculation, are you thinking an entire park opening across the board, every land, full on blown, welcome to the public sometime maybe in the spring then? Would it be just those, maybe at one point we were discussing soft openings of just individual lands too. We've had so many things happening over the course of this construction progress. Where is it at today?
I think we're going to see perhaps sections of it go for team member previews so they can
Sure.
kind of like pin down certain details and get rides working. I bet you they'll be testing the rides for a long time. That was something they did with Islands of Adventure. Like Spider-Man was testing for 9 months before the park opened just to make sure it was working. It was being tested off-site for a year before they built it. Like they didn't want a repeat of 1990s Universal Studios Florida debacle where nothing worked. So I think we're
Sure.
going to see that where they're going to do previews, but only for like special team member previews and only the whole park when that's ready, or most of the park. Then maybe we'd see some kind of special previews or soft openings to other people. But from the looks of it and the looks of all the permits and everything else, it seems like right at the beginning of 2025, everything should be ready for team members to come in, start training, start practicing, start testing, hotels start staffing, and that'll give them a few months before previews can start, and then that'll give them a few months before they open. So it looks like it's on target for summer.
So how was that IOA grand opening? Was that actually a pretty smooth, I guess, entire process for them?
It was, although because of their weird promotion of Universal Escape, it did not bring in the numbers of guests that they were hoping. So
I see.
They didn't have the giant crowds that they did back in 1990. I actually got to do team member preview for Islands of Adventure and got to ride my first roller coaster ever was Dueling Dragons. And
Wow.
I remember Spider-Man blowing my mind. So like
Yeah.
Islands of Adventure has a very special place in my heart. But this park, I think there'll be a lot of things here at Epic Universe that'll blow our minds.
It's funny to think too. I don't think people realize like what simulators existed at that time before Spider-Man. Like, what a leap! Like that. Like, and I know today, looking back at it, it seems like it's just like one of many. But back then, like that was the ride.
Oh, it's like riding Back to the Future, the ride, but then it starts actually driving through the screen.
Exactly.
Like that's what it felt like.
That's funny you say that because I remember that was how I used to be afraid of rides growing up. Like I wouldn't even go on them until like a parent or a friend went on first and was like, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. And I was like, okay, great. Let's go give it a try. So I remember the first time my dad went on Spider-Man, he got off the ride, he looked at me and he's like, you like Back to the Future? And I'm like, yep. He goes, it's that, but better. I'm like, okay, let's go.
And it still holds up as like the best.
It's funny we're talking about that Islands of Adventure opening too, because I just watched it the other day on YouTube. That was a pretty star-studded event. Like I saw like Eddie Murphy like just walking around, and it looked like Steven Spielberg was there too. It seemed pretty darn cool.
Oh, yeah, I mean, same thing with the 1990 studios opening. They tried to make it a big celebrity event, red carpet type thing. I think things are a bit different now in the social media age. I think this might be more of an influencer type thing. So we get the TikTokers in there early. Who knows? This, I don't know if we might get some like fireworks and some special stuff, but celebrities nowadays, a whole different thing.
Yeah. Well, you don't think we'll get the biggest walking movie stars on the planet at this one, huh?
Well, we'll see. I think they might let them in early and then do all these like little like news stories of like star of this and this says this theme park will blow your mind, like that type of thing. I think they did that with like Pandora, like stars of Avatar preview.
That's
like,
right.
Stars of Galaxy, like stars of Star Wars preview Galaxy's Edge. Like that's going to be that type of thing instead of all on the same day.
I hope it's a very incredible opening. I hope it lives up to the hype. I hope the park in general lives up to the hype, and it's all going to start the second we walk in that central hub.
That's right. Smooth transition, by the way.
Thank you.
We're going to kind of like bullet point through this because I wanted to get through like all of the facts, but also like some of the newer information that we're trying to like get out there. This is what we think we know so far, about halfway through. I mean, at the beginning of 2022, because we're in 2023 now, it's hard to get used to. But at the beginning of 2022, this entire theme park was just dirt. It had little access roads that separated the lands, but there wasn't a single structure built within the theme park at the beginning of 2022. And now you can see nearly every single building has steel built. It's like completely built. You see the shape of every building. Some of the lands look like the finished product without the color. Like it's amazing how far we've come in 1 year. So this is a lot of the permits, plans, and rumors so far based on what we're seeing actually get built. But the hub is huge. It's like 25 acres in and of itself. It's the biggest land in the park because it does have rides. It's not just like a hub to watch a fireworks show at Cinderella Castle. It is Main Street plus the hub plus a land all rolled into one. It was rumored early on to be named Celestial Gardens, and I don't know if that name's going to stick or if it's like an internal thing. But if you were to look at earlier plans for Epic Universe before it was even called that, there were like some really grand plans to make these like multi-level gardens with like an underground boat system that would take you around the park. And each of the different lands would be a garden too. And it was like this grand, when Imagineers and Universal Creative like sit and like think, okay, what's the most amazing thing you could think of? Celestial Gardens was a multi-tier, multi-level giant hub of the future of the past. And I think it got pared down to be something a little bit easier to wayfind. I don't think, as amazing as it would have looked, I don't think it would have been very easy to go from land to land because you would have been lost in the labyrinth of these gardens.
Wow.
So some people still believe it's still called Celestial Gardens, but this giant area is going to have like the Main Street area, but it's also going to have portals into each of the lands. So like at Magic Kingdom, each of the lands also connect, but you're not going to have that here. It's like Diagon Alley entrances. You have to go through a portal to get into the land. And then one thing we saw like 6 months in plans before they even announced Epic Universe, we saw they're going to build a fountain near the back of the hub. Like I always call it a Bellagio style fountain, but a big fountain display, which will probably have fountain shows during the day, but then also will be incorporated into the fireworks show at the end of the night. There was a rumor for a parade early on, and like I kept looking for evidence of it, and then a site plan for the hotel at the back of the park shows a space, and it says future parade building. And it's like right next to the pool area for the hotel behind one of the lands. And I'm like, oh my God, proof! There's going to be a parade someday, but it's not going to open with the parade.
Gosh, I wonder how an Epic Universe parade would feel, or what would be a part of it, or what characters they would include. Obviously, of course, you would assume the characters of the park, but I almost wonder if they would go completely IP free for something like that.
Oh man, like like Animal Kingdom kind of did in the early days, or even Epcot for the Millennium Celebration, just like something that I didn't even think of that. Although they have some really great IP, so maybe a mix of both.
They do.
And speaking of Main Street, near the entrance, there'll be like the large gift shop, as every theme park has. And this one is named Sensorium Emporium. It's a little something. It's something for everyone and everything for someone. I think there's also a Christmas gift shop, which I haven't mentioned before, but I think that's interesting because no one really realized it, but both Universal Orlando parks do have a Christmas holiday-themed gift shop. One in the New York area of Universal Studios and one at the entrance of Port of Entry. And this one would be named the North Star, which is keeping with the celestial theme, but also like a Christmas store. So that's clever. There's also...
What is the deal with the year-round Christmas stuff, Alicia? You got to explain this to me.
They do personalization, so like you're on vacation, and also the holidays is a huge business for the theme parks. Sure. But when you're on vacation, you buy an ornament with like a souvenir, and it has like your favorite characters or your favorite attractions on it. But then you also get it personalized while you're there, so you can put like the something family or the individual names. You could get it as presents. It's just something that I think a lot of people like count on always getting on their vacations. So it makes sense, and I like the theming of the North Star. It fits within the like space travel theme. There's also going to be a Nintendo store in the hub right outside of Super Nintendo World, which every time I talk about this, like the reason it's important to me is because it shows that they know that you might not be able to get into the land, and they want to still sell you Nintendo stuff. So like you go to the land and it's like, sorry folks, we're at capacity. You can't get in. But here's a store you can buy stuff still. And there's another one, and guess where it is? In front of the Wizarding World land. There's the only two like main gift shops that aren't in the front of the park inside the hub, and they're both in front of the busiest or like the most popular IP areas. So whether it's at capacity, or another idea is maybe the park areas close before the hub, so like you can stay in the middle and dine, because there'd be a lot of restaurants, but also go shopping, and you can go shopping in the Nintendo store or the Christmas store or the main store or the Harry Potter store, because that's where they're going to make the most money. So there is a rumor that the Harry Potter one is themed to MAC USA, the Magical Congress of the United States. I find that interesting because it's not related to the land itself, but it is related to the newer film series. And I wonder if that has changed or if it wasn't a true rumor, but I wanted to mention it because I don't think I've ever mentioned that before.
Do you think those, both the decision with the Nintendo and the Potter Store, like you say, were both truly made because of an overflow potentially at the land itself?
I think so, but also because they're right at the entrance, they're also right at the exit for the lands. So it might be like a last chance, like, oh no, I'm out of the land and I can't get back in because there's a wait to get into the land. Oh look, a gift shop, I can still buy that wand I didn't get, or I can still buy that Nintendo plush I didn't get, or that plush Yoshi hat. I want that plush Yoshi hat so bad.
Sure. It's funny because I think that kind of shows from their perspective that they're expecting for those two worlds to be the most populous, and rightfully so. Like I think that's easily probably 1 and 2. But it's funny for me because just from our community perspective and what I see every day and how I feel people are excited, I always think that Monsters is making a run to be somewhere in that discussion. But I guess obviously, like, I need to remember the powers that be that what is actually up against here.
Well, also it's a merchandising thing. Like Monsters might be a very popular land, but when it comes to what people buy, it's probably going to be things they want to take home with them, Harry Potter themed, Nintendo themed. So even though Dragons and Monsters, the other two lands, might be very, very popular, they might not move merchandise the same way.
Of course.
There was rumors that the hub would be separated into different, like, almost mini lands. And I think this is mostly for, like, theming reasons. And I mention it, but it's not. I don't know if it's something that'll even be really apparent to most guests. But these are areas inspired by different elements, like water, air, fire, earth, and ether, which is, I think, their version of, like, outer space. And ether, outer space, is, like, in the center of the park. The center, and that's where the two rides are in the hub. One is a flat ride and one is the giant dual track roller coaster, and they're both space themed, so that's why I call them the ether rides.
I'm excited to see a space themed attraction from Universal.
I'm excited to see a non-IP attraction from Universal.
Yeah,
has this ever happened?
God, I'm thinking now. I don't know.
Like Lost Continent came close, but it's still based on legends and like old tales. This is technically like just based on space.
That's so cool, and that helps with it being a timeless attraction as well.
Oh, I guess space fantasy. Right? That's not based on anything.
Well. Up to debate.
So, the giant hub roller coaster is rumored to be named Starfall Racers. And it's a racing, like, 2-track roller coaster, 2 separate tracks. It's not like a Mobius track where it keeps going. It is 2 distinct separate tracks, but they go very close together for most of the ride. There's some near misses, but it's more like racing side by side, not like dueling dragons coming at each other. I'm
just trying to put that together in my head. So more so like, I'm trying to even think like what they just opened here at Magic Mountain are West Coast Racers. Is it kind of like in that vein?
The racing style is, but not like the track layout style. Yeah. Like these are 2 distinct different circuits. And this is supposedly manufactured by Mock Rides. And they have patented a move on this, like a dueling barrel roll, which I think is being called Celestial Spin, which makes me think that the hub is still called Celestial Gardens. But like this move has one track go upside down on the way up and the other one go upside down on the way down. So you end up passing by each other, twisting at different intervals. So like it's not just two barrel rolls that happen at the same time. It's more like whoop, 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 whoop. So it's very hard to explain. Amusement Insider did a visualization, and it is so incredible to see this move because looking at the patent design, like you really can't get an idea of it in 3-dimensional, what it would look like on the ride, and seeing it on the ride, it's almost like one goes over the other one while the other one goes over the other one. It's like hang time. It's like the 0G moment on like Velocicoaster with 2 tracks.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And that video.
I was going to say how much I love these names now, though, between the Mosasaurus roll and the
Exactly.
Celestial Spin.
It's like, I love what they've been doing. If that's even true, it's just a rumor. But
Sure.
according to Amusement Insider's visualization, this thing is about the same length as Velocicoaster, 4,750 feet. Speed's probably up to 60 miles per hour. It's not too tall. I think less than 140 feet, like maybe 130 feet at its tallest point, which is probably going to be good for hiding it from when you're inside of all the lands, because the whole point of Epic Universe is to be completely immersed in each of the areas. So I think it's clever to kind of keep this one lower to the ground. It's more about like I've been watching. I just saw Avatar 2. It's just like a chill, like relaxing race ride where you're like in a zen state. Like it's not like a heart pounding thrill coaster where you're like Dueling Dragons was like several moments where, oh my God, I'm going to hit that wall. Oh my God, I'm going to run into the other train. Oh my God, I'm going to die.
Sure.
This one is more like, whoa, yeah. All right. Like you're in a zen state and you're like, look to your left and you're like, hey, there's the other train, man. Okay. So like fast speeds, but not too fast, and like exciting maneuvers, but not like crazy. It's more floaty. There, I'm going to go with that. It's more floaty.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of the red side of Dueling Dragons. I loved that because you have this floating moment. Like the blue one is doing this barrel roll that's like murdering you, but the red one's just like, whoa, man, I'm flying. So a lot of that stuff. And there'll be a couple inversions on each side. But yeah, I'm excited for this because I love floaty coasters, but I also think like the gold colored tracks that we've been seeing them install, it's just very different than anything we've seen before.
Sure. It seemed like dueling has a special place in your heart, being your first coaster. Does this make up for it in any way to you in terms of like having a remotely, dueling coaster kind of back in the Universal universe?
I mean,
no
I
pun intended?
love Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of stressful. It's like just like Forbidden Journey. It's got this like essence of like go 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 go, and look at this over there, and then there's this over here, and now we're changing locations, and then there's this over here. Now we're going backwards, and I just I like the idea of like this is the ride. It's like already, and we're flying through space, and now we're just chilling, and now we're looping around, and it's like I don't know if there'll be onboard music, but if there would, like I just imagine it being like really amazing. Like you know what? The score on the original Space Mountain for Disneyland Paris.
I was waiting for you to say that. I kid you not. It was I wasn't waiting for that though.
No,
That's
like I want it to be grand but beautiful, like orchestrated, but like floaty. Like I want I want my red side Dueling Dragons back, where like I can have my zen moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to like those. I know exactly what you're going for in terms of like an onboard soundtrack. I'm going to try to actually include that like relatively behind us in some respect. Hopefully no copyright strike, but just so people understand what we're talking about. There's also going to be a flat ride. Yeah,
there's also going to be a flat ride. The rumor's always been a carousel. It's like it always was a carousel, and it's a different kind of carousel where like you're riding in constellations or animals based on constellations from space, but like a different kind where it has like a seatbelt type thing. You're not straddling an animal, you're more like riding in a cradled like seat, going with Universal's like more secure ride vehicle rules. But then there's all this, like all of a sudden there's rumors of a mock Twist and Splash instead, which is like a teacup ride on water. So I'm not sure which one it is, because if you look at construction, they both look like a round flat ride, and they all look the same to start. So I'm not sure. If they put a roof on this and I can't tell what they're building underneath, it's going to drive me crazy for like 2 years now.
This is why they do this.
I want to know. I like knowing. But it is going to be themed to constellations. It goes along with the space theme. And it's probably going to be like, if you're, not able to go on the big scary roller coaster or you don't want to, at least you also have this nice relaxing flat ride in the center of the park too.
There's also
and it won't be indoors. I think everyone thinks it's like this in the concept art. It looks like the stained glass indoor ride. I think it's more like a roof, like a very elaborate roof, but it is open air inside.
I'm trying to remember if I remember DCA had like the swinging swings inside like that big orange. Of course, I forget the name of it. I feel like that was kind of like a similar open air type of ride, if I'm not mistaken, but it had like a covering.
Yeah.
Orange Stinger.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Does that mean anything to you?
No, I don't know. I don't know that. I know the emotional swings with the mood swings over at Inside Out for the Pixar Pier, but I don't remember original DCA.
Oh yeah, definitely look up Orange Stinger when you have a second. It was literally like swings inside a open air orange.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
So something kind of similar.
Oh, weird.
See what I'm saying?
That's such a Florida 192 tourist thing.
Yeah. And it's funny because growing up, going to DCA, what I remember is the big orange. And then when I was there, like, older, 10, 11, 12, 13 versus 5 or 6, I was like, where's the orange? And I was so confused, like things have changed. But yeah, so like for whatever reason, the orange always stuck in my mind.
The hub's also going to have like the most dining locations in the whole park, including the only full service like sit down restaurants, which also leads me to believe it will stay open longer than the lands, because at Universal Orlando, the current 2 parks, the parks sometimes close early, like 5, 6 o'clock maybe. And then you can everyone's kind of pushed into City Walk to have dinner.
Yeah. Like
all the restaurants close at 4 inside of the theme parks. And it's like, sorry, you can only have lunch in here. So this will be kind of like their version of City Walk for dinner. It's like everyone in the lands, you get done with the rides and you're like, then you go to your dinner reservation. And really quickly, I just wanted to run through all of them because they have the early names for all the locations. One of them is an octagon near the front of the park in the water section of the hub. It's named Atlantic. And this one has giant glass windows overlooking like the water feature at the entrance to the park. Another one is named Moon Pie, and this one's a quick service pizza location. It's connected to the Nintendo store, but I don't think it's Nintendo related. But it does happen to serve pizza.
Sure.
Across from that is Cosmic Cakes, which I think is like a dessert, small quick service according to the permits. Then Elysian Barbecue. This is the one that we used to make jokes that it was Charmander's Big Fire Grill.
That is a very famous barbecue place to us now.
It's right outside of Universal Monsters. Very big location. I think I honestly want to eat there first. Across from that is a Starbucks.
Sure.
If you're wondering why the Starbucks is there and not closer to the entrance of the park, I think it's so that it's close by to the hotel. So like people can like wake up and enter the theme park from the hotel in the back of the park and be right next to the Starbucks.
Sure.
So there's some cleverness to that. Right in front of the hotel is a indoor restaurant named Yin Yang, which I think the interior is designed to look like you're outside, which is like my favorite theme park thing ever, like the Mexico Pavilion restaurant. And this one has like Chinese lanterns floating above you in the sky, but you're inside, but it feels like you're outside at night.
Cool.
And then an Italian restaurant named Cassini, which is in the spacey area around the hub, themed as like observatory. And then there was one called Meteor Burger, which always makes me laugh when I say it out loud. I didn't realize meteor, like an asteroid, like a meteor, but it sounds like it's a meteor burger that you're used to. This one was cut from the plans. I don't know why.
How can
that
they
name
cut
is
a
so
name
good.
like that?
I know. It's And then there was one that's right next to the coaster too. So like you'd walk out of the coaster and there'd be like this meteor.
Perfect.
That looks like a burger flying from the sky as the logo. Zephyr Market is right in front of Dragons, closer to the entrance to the theme park. Zephyr Market has over 400 seats in the permits. It is a food court-like establishment, so a little bit of everything for everyone in a quick service and even has overflow seating outside. So like if you couldn't get a reservation or something, you always have a backup here at Zephyr Market. And that's in the air area. So like this is why it makes me think that they're different elements. Like Zephyr is like got clouds built into the design of the pavement out front. There's fire for the barbecue place. And then Atlantic has the water design. So like they're all different elements.
I mean, that element aspect of it's got to still be staying, right? Like it's there because it seemed like earlier in the episode you were saying like it's potentially like you don't know like how it's going to end up on opening day, but I mean it seems like everything's kind of like in theme across the board.
I just don't think it's going to be in your face. I think it's more of a way to like influence the architectural styles of each of the structures.
I see.
So like as you walk through the hub, it's not all the same.
Yeah.
I think like in Magic Kingdom, Main Street, and then the hub, like it has a very sameness to it. Like you're all in one area. This one is so big that they've actually got little mini areas. So as you walk through, it feels like Celestial Gardens. It feels like different themed areas within the hub, but also for wayfinding, like it helps you not feel like you're lost because you're like, oh, I'm surrounded by fire. I must be near monsters.
I see.
Like you, even if it's a subconscious thing, I don't think it's going to like list it on the map that like, this is the fire section of the hub. It's more like, here's a bunch of fire theming. So
something that could almost go easily over the head of like someone that kind of like uninformed and just walking around and taking it all in versus us.
So I worry
like
about
broken down.
I worry about
every
saying
brick.
it so much, and then people are gonna be like, "Oh, that wasn't a big deal." And I was like, "No, it might not be. It's just like it's just interesting to me that the hub is so big, it's literally split into sections."
Appropriately so too, and it feels very rightly sectioned off in terms of like what they are trying at least for. So I'm excited for that. Open hub rumors. What's going on?
Well, we kind of mentioned it before. There's all these rumors that like the park was built so that you could have regular like non-paying theme park guests come into the center of the hub, enjoy restaurants and dining, and then leave without ever paying a cent. Although you'd have to pay for parking unless you take like an Uber or something. And then there was other rumors that like convention goers, because the convention center is so close, could come and like have a dinner or whatever, and maybe just go to one land and not have to pay for the whole park. And taking these different rumors into account, I think there's some truth in it, but like I think we're getting confused because of the wording. Jeff Shell, CEO, NBC Universal, actually mentioned recently on an earnings call that convention goers would be able to come and just visit one area of the park because of its unique setup. And everyone immediately assumes, oh, that means that there'll be a la carte pricing. You'll be able to go to just Super Nintendo World. And I don't think that's what it means. I think what it means is there might be package deals to conventions where you can come visit a certain area of the park after it's closed. They already do like after 5 p.m. passes to conventions at the current parks. Where like, you're going to be doing business all day. So you're going to pay a smaller price to get in after a certain time.
Sure.
And maybe it's like that. They actually have entrances at the back of each of the land too. So you could get convention goers on a package deal, either through the business or through the convention center, to come to like Super Nintendo World after 5 or 6 p.m. or something when it's already closed for day guests. And you come in through a special entrance and you're like shuttled in right from the convention center across the street to the back of Super Nintendo World. So like, I think we're thinking it's this rumor that the hub is open, but reality is it might just be literally like a buyout like they do with the different lands or different parks where like corporations buy out the whole park or whatever, except now you can do it on a land by land basis.
It's funny because something as simple as that, which is something we see all the time, it's very common, like it's nothing new to theme parks. We hear some of the phrasing, then our community goes and tries to create some never before seen a la carte style theme park. So will be interesting to see how it ends up coming, but yeah, no, what you said sounds much more likely to me, just, hearing
and I
it.
think there's also some truth that like the lands themselves might close earlier than the center part of the hub. The hub might stay open till 11 p.m. so that people can dine and go see the fireworks. But everyone else in the different lands have to be like ushered out. Like as soon as you cycle out the queues and get everyone off the ride, then you go into the hub and you can stay there and like chill. And it's like the park's kind of closed, but
Sure.
the restaurants stay open and the dining stays open. Like on Main Street USA at the Magic Kingdom, they will leave that main gift shop, the Emporium, open until the last guest leaves.
Yep.
It could be 4 hours after the park closes.
Yeah,
they will not close it if you've got money in your pocket.
100%.
So maybe the hub is like that too, where the restaurants stay open longer, and that it uses the unique design with the portals to its advantage. And that's maybe where some of these rumors come from.
Do you think that's also coming from just the fact that this is going to be like the hub can serve as like the city walk of this park for now?
For now,
yeah.
Because there's room for another, like an actual city walk.
Sure.
They just like they're saving that for a phase 2 maybe. But yeah, I think the way that city walk works, where but then there's the rumor. Maybe when the lands close and the hub stays open, they let in normal guests. Maybe it is City Walk, and at 6 p.m. you can park for free and come in and dine at the restaurants, but the lands are closed, so you can't go on the rides.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that is what they mean by open hub. It's just after the lands closed. I don't know.
That could work too. I mean, that operationally seems like something that would flow easily and not be some elaborate new setup that we've kind of never seen before. So that makes a lot of sense to me. We keep referring to Main Street and Disney's kind of hub and spoke design in general. And before we get off the central hub, I just want to reiterate, like, that's essentially like what this is kind of doing. It's one block of land that Universal has dubbed the hub. If you've never seen the layout, and then just like we've mentioned throughout this episode, individual entrances into each world, one in, one out in terms of like the way you can enter. So it's very specific and very I mean, what do you think is the thought process for the one in, one out? I'm trying to even kind of articulate why it's this way. I don't know if it adds to immersion.
It's Diagon Alley. There's only one way in and one way out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's you're locked in.
Sure.
What's interesting is a lot of the lands have like a circular path within them. So you go in, you do everything, and then you hop back out. So it's almost like a mini theme park.
Yeah.
Within a theme park. So like a full immersive theme park area, and then you leave, instead of something like Hogsmeade where you walk from one end to the other at Islands of Adventure and just leave again. This is more like you go in, go all the way around, and come back out the same way you came in to keep you fully immersed. There's no like back exit.
And one of the fully immersive entrances is going to be a green warp pipe that we are slowly becoming more and more familiar with.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. At Epic Universe, it's not a green warp pipe on the outside. Because at Epic Universe, all of the portals are themed similarly on the outside. They just have a different beacon above them to for wayfinding across the park. Because this is a huge hub. So across the way, you might see some giant colorful pipes sticking out of the portal. And those colorful pipes have a power-up star and a mushroom on top glowing and spinning. And it's like, oh, that's where Nintendo is.
Wait, really? I didn't even put this together through all this time.
When you look at the portal, though, it looks... I hate to say it, but it looks like a Stargate. It's got weird glyphs on it, and it's like an astrolabe. It's for space navigation. It's a space compass. We're walking through a portal designed as a space compass.
Interesting.
And as soon as you enter the portal, that's when it looks like a green warp pipe inside. But it doesn't look like that on the outside because it has the same look as all the other portals. It's what's on top of the portal that is differently themed.
Okay, so then does that take away from the Diagon aspect? Because obviously Diagon's entrance is straight from Harry Potter, it's the brick wall, and there's nothing about that entrance or that immersiveness that feels out of place. Could these portal entrances feel like a little almost odd in the fact that yes, it feels similarly themed across the board and is great for theme park cohesion, but is it weird to enter an IP through a generally themed entrance?
It feels to me like have you ever been in Second Life? Like an MMO, there's a hub in different virtual worlds, and then in that hub are portals. Yeah. And sometimes there's little shops and things and little gardens, and then around the outside of this circular hub are the portals, and you jump into the portal. It's that. Yeah, we've essentially taken a virtual world portal hub and made it reality. So yeah, they have some cohesion between them. They're supposed to stand out. They're supposed to stick out like a sore thumb. It's like you're going around to all these like old European style like gift shops and like Parisian streets and like Jules Verne looking restaurants, and then all of a sudden not green but like multicolored pipes and floating power up star with a smiley face is like right there, and it's like, what is this? And you hear the music as you get closer to it. It's like it lures you in, it pulls you into Super Nintendo World,
which also feels very much like those like the virtual worlds you're mentioning that built kind of rooms like this with the portals kind of like surrounding the room, like very much in the same vein. I've never put it together that way, but that's kind of, I wonder if they took inspiration from something like that.
Yeah, it feels very like bringing the virtual world into reality because it's exploring immersive worlds, and that's a motif there. So yeah, Super Nintendo World itself, very similar to Universal Studios Japan, but the entrance is very unique to Epic Universe.
Yeah. So historically, let's talk about Super Nintendo World. Let's talk about how it's gotten here, what it's been, what it is now, and what we can expect outside of a portal that is not a warp pipe from the start.
So I was talking to some folks on we have a theme park stop Discord. We were talking about it, and they're like, why is this land not bigger? Like, they're building a whole new theme park. They could have made this land bigger. Yeah. It's very similar to Universal Studios Japan, just slightly bigger. And the reason is it was designed for Kids Zone at Universal Studios Florida. Like the first Super Nintendo World was originally designed for that area to be fit in that area. And then it was slightly altered to fit within an area of expansion at Universal Studios Japan, and then altered greatly for Hollywood, and then probably altered even more for Singapore, depending on size. So this land is being plopped down into Epic Universe exactly as it was originally designed for Kid Zone. So it's only like 8-point-something acres big, and then next to it is an expansion space, which is another 7 acres. It would essentially double it if they were to build more Nintendo or other Nintendo-adjacent properties there. And I think that was the thinking. That like, let's not spend money to redesign this that we've spent the last 5 years designing. Let's build it as we designed it, and then we can add more to it later. So, but I had Tommy Hawkins, a friend of mine, help me with the math. It is still, Epic Universe's version of Super Nintendo World is still 46,000 square feet bigger than Japan's.
Huh. Yeah, that's significant.
Like, there is still a big difference, especially to Peach's Castle, which you enter after getting through the pipe. Especially like the orientation of the Yoshi ride and the main gift shop is slightly like almost 40 degrees to the right a little bit. And the Peach's Castle is more to the left. So, and there's a ton more space underneath Peach's Castle, which has led to some rumors that there might be something extra under there. An old rumor I heard a long time ago was some kind of theater, not too big of a theater, but like maybe a character type thing.
Sure.
Like a meet and greet inside instead of clogging up the courtyard, which is where they normally meet. But also there'll be like a lot more team member space, team member break area and stuff. So it's interesting that it's bigger because it was designed for Kid Zone, but not so big because it wasn't designed specifically for Epic Universe. Right.
Do you think, as just theme park fans and people who want the best for Epic Universe, that we should feel somewhat slighted or down about the fact that we're getting, you know, essentially the plans from Kid Zone, essentially something similar to Japan, all like, you know, you said it is slightly bigger, but should we have like kind of demanded or expected or wanted something completely different or unique? Like, I know across the board, it seems like we haven't gotten things like that normally. Like Hogsmeade was ported almost identically outside of like a small detail change here and there, whether it was, you know, Black Lake or something like in Hollywood, how we have the Weasley car outside of Hogwarts. Should we have felt an actual like expectation to get something completely different? Because it seems like we haven't seen that to this point, but we also haven't had a brand new theme park to work with.
Right. Like, sure, it might be the same as Japan as far as the ride offerings in Epic Universe, but Epic Universe also has a whole other, like 3 other lands of a theme park around it.
Yeah.
So I'm not too upset about it. Like, it stinks that we have to wait longer because we would have had our land already open in Kid Zone had they built it when they were originally planning to build it. It would have opened after Japan, but by now. But also, because there's so much extra space here in Orlando, it's kind of like Hogsmeade when it opened had Dragon Challenge.
Yeah.
And then later they added, you know, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. So Sure, it might be opening with the same 3 rides that Japan will have by then, but there's room for expansion in the future. And even if Japan gets some of the stuff we'll get in expansion, it will not be nearly as big as we get here in Orlando. So I have hopes for the future. I don't want to get too much into it,
Sure.
but they're getting Pokemon stuff first before we are. But I think that at the end of the day, we're going to get something even bigger than what they're getting as far as that property is concerned. And that might be worth waiting for.
I can't wait for that episode and to dig in further on that on you, further on that with you. But yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, it's they're getting, like, they didn't get the Donkey Kong roller coaster at the start. That's not opening till 2024, but it will open with ours from the start. So, like, already we're getting the fully fleshed out full version of Super Nintendo World right from the start. So yeah, we had to wait longer for it, but we're also getting it all at once here at Epic Universe, and there's nowhere to go but up from there. Like, you know, the sky's the limit on the future, not just at Epic Universe, which has, you know, 7 Acres expansion next to Super Nintendo World, which might or might not be used for it. But we also have room at the other parks if they want to Harry Potter this and split it up.
I know you just kind of like vaguely hinted at it, but do you think they'll ever give the parks in the States treatment that is better than Japan? I feel like, well, for specifically for Nintendo, because it just seems like they want to cater to that park, and, you know, with execs being there and everything, like, I know you kind of alluded like we might get something even more grand, but is that possible?
But yeah, I think we have the blessing of space.
Okay.
Japan is the, you know, Nintendo's home.
Sure.
So I get that they get it first and they get the full Super Nintendo World, you know, that you might not get in Hollywood. But even if they get something Pokemon and they get something for other properties like Zelda, I think it's kind of like over in Hollywood getting Jurassic Park the Ride back in the 90s, and Islands of Adventure getting Jurassic Park the Ride and the Triceratops encounter and the Visitor Center.
Hey, don't rub it in now. Come on.
It's, even though the ride is still the same, the land was more fleshed out.
Right.
So I foresee something to that effect.
It's always been that way in terms of Hollywood, Florida. So I'm glad
you got it first back then. You have no idea how jealous I was in 1995. You have no idea.
Here's the thing I've learned about getting it first, and I feel like I'm about to learn that same lesson again, is that we get it first, but 10 years from now, it doesn't matter if we got it first or not, because we're experiencing what we got versus what you guys got. So being first is fun for the year or two that you get to have it and be unique, but then once the other coast gets, you know, the exact same thing and more, then it's no longer any fun.
And we get a Yoshi ride.
Hey.
So Super Nintendo World in Epic Universe, enter the portal. This is a big difference from all the other ones. We have an escalator inside of the portal, inside of the green warp pipe at Epic Universe, because we have to get from the ground level to that second level for our entry. Just the same as Japan, unlike Hollywood, but just the same as Japan. We want to start on the second level coming out of Peach's Castle, and to get there, we have to take a magical warp pipe escalator.
Is this the first escalator built by Universal since Starway?
I think so.
Wow.
at least outside and not inside a building, but yes,
it could technically. Hold on, I'm getting off track here, but I'm thinking just staying in like the theme of like Nintendo, like it could have a nod.
We have escalators at the parking garages for getting to the bus loop and getting to valet.
Does that count?
No, because it's not inside a theme park. That's what I'm saying. Well, this is not just inside a theme park; it's inside a warp pipe.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned this in my video on for everything at Epic Universe, and someone asked, like, well, what about wheelchairs? Like, there is an elevator to the right of the escalator, just in case you're wondering. And it spits you out right in front of Peach's Castle, next to the Peach meet and greet. Nice. So don't worry, they've thought of that. Yeah, no, I'm looking just over our notes quickly, just to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Is there anything further from the escalator perspective that we need to talk about before moving on to the primary attraction here? No, because like once you go through the escalator, it takes you up to the second half of the green warp pipe and you transition into Peach's Castle. And it's very similar to Universal Japan from there,
Yep.
except that when you walk outside of Peach's Castle, you have to turn your head slightly to the right to see Yoshi. It's not going to be straight ahead of you like it is in Japan. It's slightly different because the courtyard is slightly different and a little bit wider.
I see. So this land is still featuring Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We've been going throughout this episode talking about the possibilities and the what ifs of what Super Nintendo World could have been in Epic Universe if they decided to deviate from Kid Zone. Before we get into Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which most of you listening, I'm assuming, should have a decent grasp on what it is, especially the fact that it's been open and now it's about to open at Universal Studios Hollywood, how much we've talked about it. But if you don't, we'll get into it. But before we even get into that, is there an IP from Nintendo that you would have been okay with it being versus Mario Kart at Epic Universe? I know it's easy for me to say, and logistically it doesn't really make sense. I'm just asking, like in general, is there another Nintendo property that you would have been okay with?
I mean, the land itself is kind of like exploring the Mushroom Kingdom, and there's different like areas that feel like levels of the video games, like the indoor area and stuff. But like, I've always wanted a dark ride that is just like a Super Mario Brothers dark ride. Mm-hmm. Like I think a narrative driven. So now with the movie coming out, that would actually be easier. But something based on the old games, or even like a mix of the old games and the newer games, would have been really neat. I think that Mario Kart was probably the easiest way to go and the most like brand recognition because it goes through all the areas that you would normally go through on the side-scrolling games too. So like, I guess it makes sense, but I would have been fine with a narrative game, like a narrative ride where you like a dark ride, like an actual no augmented reality. You go through, it tells you a story. Surprisingly, like that's what they were designing for Pokemon. Like this is interactive, but I think the main Pokemon ride they were designing was more classic storytelling ride.
Wow.
Strangely enough.
Very strange. Imagine.
So they might make up for it.
I think the thing that I always hear people discuss as well is that Luigi's Mansion type attraction.
Yeah. I mean, the pitch concept that they pitched to Nintendo to get the rights had some kind of Luigi's Mansion thing. I don't think it was like a dark ride Haunted Mansion type thing, because I think you would skirt too close to actually parroting a Haunted Mansion if you're in like a Doom buggy or something.
Of course.
I think it was more like a walkthrough type experience that was adjacent to a airship play area above the Mario Kart ride, all in the same building. So I'm not sure if it was like some kind of interactive thing, but like as an upcharge experience where you get to put on like the ghost pack and like capture ghosts in an augmented reality type situation, I would be all for that.
That'd be so cool.
Like I'd like to actually experience it, or like an escape room with augmented reality that's themed as Luigi's Mansion. They'll make a killing. Yeah. Like that's more where I feel like that would shine. As a ride, it would just be the Haunted Mansion.
No, yeah, really. Very true. That's a good point. That's a good thing to bring up. All right, so Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, getting back on track. That was our blue sky fun for the episode, but getting back on track. Any surprises here?
I mean, it's still the same exact ride that you're going to have in Hollywood that they have in Japan. It's the augmented reality glasses going through real. I mean, it's kind of like the Men in Black ride vehicle, let's be honest. But it has the interactivity, the steering wheels, the very confusing look where you want to shoot, then shoot. Yeah. And like the same ride, but there was a rumor that there'd be at least one extra section of queue. I think this might come down to the slight differences in space between the two lands, between Japan. And I think it was like Bowser's Courtyard, like a covered queue, almost like somewhat outside. But other than that, I think it's nearly identical, or if not identical, to the attraction in Japan.
It's amazing to think that I'm less than a month away from probably experiencing this attraction, whether it's via soft opening or whatever it might be. I'm very excited. I mean, it's the best way I could put it at this point.
I'm very curious to hear what like reviews from Japan in English is few and far between, and only from like a few outlets. Yep. So it'd be very interesting to see the new influx of reviews in the coming weeks. From everyone, like literally everyone in the United States.
It's bizarre that you say that because I feel the same way. I feel like this attraction's been out now, and I feel like I still don't have a true grasp on the actual reviews and overall sentiment. which is bizarre to say, but I think just like you said, this is going to be a telltale, and we're going to get real, public reception here, and we're about to find out a lot about Mario Kart here in the next month.
Yep. And in this land in Epic Universe will have the Mario Kart ride.
Yep.
The entrance is the same. It's in the same spot as Japan on the second level. On the lower level, there's Yoshi's Adventures entrance, and this is a elevated Omnimover ride going around upper part of the land. You do not have this in Hollywood, but it is you ride in a Yoshi, not really on a Yoshi, but you ride in a Yoshi going around in a continually moving path. Most people don't realize this. It's actually interactive, sort of. There's 3 little egg buttons, and when you see the colored egg on the ride, you press the corresponding button,
Yep.
and at the end, I think you get, you don't really, but you get the gold egg from Captain Toad if you had succeeded or not.
Sure.
So not many people know that. It's the little kid version of the interactive experience for the land. Mario Kart's for families or for most everyone. Yoshi's for the little kids, so they feel like they're part of the interactivity.
Do you know if that egg stuff lines up with the app?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that the power-up bands, if you have it, you tap it to the M in the center of the Mario Kart steering wheel, and you get your scores lined up. I don't think Yoshi does. That's why it's almost pretend interactivity.
Yeah.
it's interactive adjacent.
Sure.
It's like the
You did it.
It's the Mission Space ride at Epcot.
Yeah.
You're gonna succeed whether or not.
Are you telling me Mission Space is not that interactive? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now? I thought I was
override
controlling.
Engaged.
I thought I was in charge of this.
No, yeah, you definitely have to use the joystick or you will crash.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then there'll be the Donkey Kong ride, the Donkey Kong roller coaster. I think a lot of people are excited for this, but just like the Mario Kart ride, maybe let some people down when it's not as fast as you were imagining. Please keep in mind that Donkey Kong is just as much a dark ride as it is a roller coaster, and it will not be as fast as you're imagining. So many people are thinking this is going to be a very thrilling coaster. It is a family attraction. I think what's thrilling is that you think you're jumping over holes, gaps in the track.
Yeah.
But also seeing some of the moves that were being constructed here in Orlando, it does have some a pretty steep drop. I'm reminded of the little tiny coaster segment at the end of Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld Orlando.
Uh-huh.
There's this little spinny part, little corkscrew down inside the building, and it's pretty thrilling for how small it is.
Sure.
There's a move like that on the Donkey Kong coaster that it reminds me of, where you're pointed down so much while turning that it actually is kind of thrilling, but the speeds will be very slow. But that's because this is a really immersive dark ride experience disguised as a roller coaster.
Talk about the dark ride aspects of it. In what way can we expect that from this coaster?
There's a lot of animatronics involved in this attraction, and without having the augmented reality goggles of Mario Kart,
Sure.
It's a lot, and we'll be passing by pretty fast, but there's still there's Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong in multiple scenes. There's even animatronic characters in the queue, like Cranky Kong. And there's moments where special effects and different things make it look like, you're switching tracks between different things to avoid enemies, and falling off of a track that was ripped open by a different enemy, and avoiding tiki statues that are coming flying in your face. It'll be a lot all happening very fast and in a small space. So I'm excited for the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride-ness of it, where it's going to feel more chaotic, even though you're not going as fast. But it also is technically a roller coaster, so, it'll have its little thrill moments, too.
Technically, a roller coaster has its thrill moments, and just like you were saying, regardless of the speed, I think just psychologically what it's going to do to us to see us physically jumping a track is going to be thrilling enough.
Yeah, there's you're jumping over a pit of spikes, you're jumping over a water feature, you're jumping over the waterfall on the main entrance on the temple, you're jumping sideways to a different track, then jumping sideways to another, back to the original track. There's so much going on that this is you're gonna have to ride it 3 or 4 times. Forbidden Journey the first time, you're what just happened?
Yeah.
This is Rise of the Resistance the first time. You're gonna get off Donkey Kong and be well, that was really short, but I feel like we went through 3 rides worth of stuff.
Yeah. I'm so excited for that ride. I'm just still like, I want to like just see like what it's gonna feel like to jump the track, like how believable it's gonna be, and just what that is gonna feel like just as a rider. So I'm excited for that so much.
No, and just like Japan and just like Hollywood, we'll have the power-up band and the activities.
Yep.
Unlike Hollywood, which is missing a couple, we will have all of them here. Not to rub it in. Yeah. We'll also have the 2 retail locations. I think Hollywood, you only have the 1-Up Factory. We have Mario Motors upstairs and the 1-Up Factory downstairs, which may be slightly bigger than Japan's. I'm not sure, but it's definitely oriented differently. We have dining. We have the Toadstool Cafe, just like you have in Hollywood, but ours will be bigger. We have the Pit Stop Popcorn, which I think you don't have. And the Yoshi's Snack Island, which you don't have. So again, just like Japan, we'll have the 2 snack windows.
Not positive on Pit Stop. Snack Island for sure we don't have. And just again, I want to actually dive into Toadstool just a bit. I want to give a high level wrap up for people who have just listened to us say a bunch of stuff. 3 rides: Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, Yoshi's Adventure, Donkey Kong. Power up band activities. You can buy a power up band at any gift shop basically that sells Super Nintendo World merch, and use those power-up bands to do activities around the land that sync up with a game / app that is built into the native Universal Studios app. There's a leaderboard, it tracks your points, it does all kinds of fun stuff just like that within that land. We'll be curious if Universal takes this and decides like, hey, this is working, this is fun, we should expand it to other lands. Topic for another day. Retail, like Alicia just said, Mario Motors and the 1-Up Factory, which again is one more retail location we have here in Hollywood. And then the main dining attraction is that Toadstool Cafe that we were talking about.
Yeah, permits say we have 344 seats for ours here in Orlando. And this is, I'm going by the menu you have there in Hollywood.
Yep.
I think it's like the essence. We've talked about it before, wondering whether they were going to like have the same foods but different from Japan, and they kind of do. Like they kept the same. It's a burger and a chicken sandwich for Mario and Luigi. They just changed the flavoring from I think, was it curry in Japan, and now it's pesto here in the States. Sure. So like it's a perfect transposing of flavors, leaning a little bit into the Italian-esque of it, like the power up dessert is a tiramisu here. Yep. And it's like, that's clever. Like, go into the Italian way. So the Luigi pesto burger chicken, like that makes sense. So I imagine the same menu you get there is what we're going to have here.
A safe bet, still moderately, in theme, being Italian. And tell them our favorite part. Do you remember our favorite part of this dining experience?
No, is it
just the little hats?
Oh, just little hats. Yeah, no, of course. I see. You haven't been yet. Like, I don't know when this episode's going to air, but we haven't seen the food in Hollywood yet. I don't want to get my hopes up too high.
It's coming.
Those hats better be on the burgers. They better be. Just the same as the mushroom soup, has to have the little bread lid and look like a mushroom. Like these little touches are important. At very least, the power up, the little question block tiramisus will probably look like a question block. So at least we have that going.
Definitely have that going. Remains to be seen what ends up happening with the rest of the thematically impressive food that they built in Japan, if it gets ported over to Hollywood in its full iteration. And then the last thing that we're kind of concerned about in Hollywood right now, which is the character meet and greets. We're expecting to not have Toad at this point, just based upon online speculation and just community discussion. That needs to be confirmed by the park itself, of course, but right now it almost looks like they have, because the promotional imagery that they're putting out does not include Toad.
Yeah, it's my fault. I said it first. I apologize. I put it out there, and then now we're really concerned.
I feel like they listened to you, and they're like, Alicia says we don't have Toad. We need to not have Toad. And they're like,
no,
they just fired whoever was ready. They didn't want you to be wrong.
I have a good feeling the Epic Universe will open with Toad. I have nothing to base this on. I just believe that it will happen. I think with rumors of a character stage being incorporated, and knowing that the courtyard is bigger, and knowing that this has to be epic, we have to have, if not, like, extra characters. I'm hoping for extra
You
characters.
see, Alicia's East Coast bias is so real, guys, because she's giving you guys extra characters and she took one away from us over here. So you see what I have to put up with here?
I'm just reading the tea leaves. This is what the tarot cards tell me. I turn over a card. It says no tone
extra
for Hollywood.
characters.
I turn over a card. It says Daisy. What? We're having to, at very least,
oh my God.
Donkey Kong will appear in the Donkey Kong area. At very least,
What?
we have that going for us. There is a meet and greet in the plans. There is it literally is listed as Donkey Kong's Treehouse meet and greet. And there's no one else that I can imagine meeting at Donkey Kong's Treehouse except Donkey Kong. So at very least, we will have that in Epic Universe.
Will Donkey Kong make Donkey Kong like noises? That's the real question. I want to know.
No, it's just Seth Rogen's voice comes out of it.
oh my! I can't imagine what a Donkey Kong meet and greet would be like. That's why I'm so intrigued by this right now.
If you look it up, there's been like a character, like a mall opening or something. It's quite large.
Yeah.
Like when you had the Toothless meet and greet in Hollywood. Like It's a big costume.
God, it seems like it would be. I'm almost thinking like the Hulk costume here at DCA almost, but. Yeah.
No, not that.
Not
it's
that
more.
big?
It's more like long arms, essentially.
I see.
Long arms you can like use as feet in front of you.
Interesting. Okay, be fun to see, but extra characters for you guys, one less for us. That's fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we are going to pause the episode right here, guys. This is where we're going to leave you guys on a little bit of a cliffhanger. You're gonna have to come back for part 2. We're gonna have part 2 wrapped up and ready to go for you guys and uploaded within the week. So definitely come back and check out part 2. We have it uploaded. If you want to stay informed, you can follow myself at Theme Park Shark on all platforms. You can also text me. Yes, I have a text message service where you guys can text me and I can let you guys know about the video immediately when it's ready. That's 661-402-9997. You can also follow Alicia Stella on Twitter. She is exactly that, Alicia Stella, Alicia, Stella, Stella. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode for Epic Universe.